All right, class is back. This is the pass fail trap. I talked a little bit on the last short that I made, like briefly just put it out there, right? A little bit I was talking about was on reparenting your inner child. And I'm going to get more into that a little bit later on as I go through my different series. But I want to talk about one part of it that I was talking with a therapist friend about. Basically, here's what the pass fail trap is. A lot of this started out with us when we were in school. In school, we were basically graded, and it kind of was like you get put into different little categories, and it kind of labels you in your mind. A or F, pass and exceed or fail. Now, what that has done to a lot of people is it gives this trap where basically you feel kind of like every decision, every interaction, every opportunity, everything is a test, right? So if I don't get this right, I'm wrong, and if I do get this right, then I pass and I'm worthy, right? I'm either wrong and I'm doomed, or I'm right and I'm worthy. So let's break it down how it shows up with people with like how they operate. Usually we have a lot of the time we have a constant pressure or an anxiety, and it comes into different areas where we might self-sabotage. Look at relationships and dating, right? So ultimately when it comes to this kind of pass-fail mind frame, if the date goes wrong, let's say it's just the first date, right? And if you feel like it went wrong, it leads into this whole overthinking and over texting and chasing and trying to make things right, and you're just trying to prove like, hey, I should pass this test. I'm good enough to pass this. This was a mistake, right? So it kind of leads into this over anxiety. And then also it makes us feel like we're afraid to be vulnerable because we get judged, right? So we look at it as, I don't want to be vulnerable because if I show who I really am and I get rejected, that means that I failed, right? So I haven't passed. So what happens is you do all these things, and ultimately it leads to self-sabotaging and dating, because ultimately what you're doing is you're trying to pass a test, but this is not a test. So you're trying to play this role, you're trying to strategize, you're trying to come off a certain way, and ultimately what you're doing is you're thinking of an outcome. You're having an outcome-based thinking. If I do this right, I get this. I win this. I pass this, right? And so what that does is it makes people self-sabotage. And it happens in our career too. In our career moves, from what we see is a lot of the time paralysis before opportunities, right? Like usually you'll see someone who gets presented something and they'll see like, hey, this promotion is up. You might be a shoo-in. Like a boss will tell someone like, hey, you're a shoo-in, and they'll think like, well, what if I don't do good in the interview? What if I don't do good when it comes down to it? What if I fail here, fail there? They're using the word failure. They're basically self-sabotaging. So what that happens is they miss out on big moves because they're caught on, if I fail this one part, I'm not worthy of what's next, right? So this is like a thing that a therapist friend had talked with me about. Of course, I do my little videos and I jump on TikTok. I try to talk about it in my class, right? How often we feel like there's this like underlying pressure. We don't really know what it is. It could be a phone call with someone that you feel like it went wrong. And you were like, man, when they called, I was prepared to tell them this, but I didn't do it, so I failed. And it really, ultimately, all that these are data points, right? First date didn't go good. What could I do different? How could I change my approach? How can I be a little bit more relaxed, right? I know I talk fast, so I'm trying to make sure I slow things down. But these are ways where we overcome that. So ultimately, with the pass-fail trap, I'm going to talk about it more, but this is like a mind frame that we really want to work on. I hope that it helped per usual.